Hey everyone, I'm Lira, and I'm a sophomore in college. When I got my first real paycheck from my campus job, I was so excited. I already had plans for that money: coffee runs, new clothes, food delivery, maybe even a weekend trip. But then I checked my bank account, and the amount was way lower than I expected. I remember thinking, wait, where did the rest of my paycheck go? That was my introduction to taxes. At first, I honestly thought taxes were something only adults with full-time jobs worried about. But I quickly learned college students deal with taxes too. If you work part-time, have an internship, do freelance work, or even earn investment income, taxes become part of your life. And honestly, it felt confusing at first. I saw words like federal tax, FICA, withholding, tax forms. I had no idea what any of it meant. But once I started learning how taxes actually work, everything became less intimidating. I realized taxes are connected to personal finance in a huge way. They affect how much money you keep, how much you save, and even future financial goals. So in this video, I want to share my experience learning taxes as a college student in the simplest way possible. Because trust me, if I could figure it out between exams, assignments, and late-night ramen noodles, you can too. A few days after getting my paycheck, I finally sat down and looked at the pay stub. That little document had so many things listed on it: gross pay, net pay, federal withholding, Social Security, Medicare. At first, it looked like another language. Then I learned something important. Your gross income is the total amount you earn before taxes. Your net income is what you actually take home after taxes are removed. And trust me, those two numbers can feel very different. I also learned the US uses something called a progressive tax system. At first, I thought if I make more money, all my income gets taxed at a higher rate. But that's not how it works. Different portions of your income are taxed at different percentages. That honestly made me feel better about working more hours. Then I noticed deductions coming out of my paycheck for Social Security and Medicare. Those are called payroll taxes, or FICA taxes. Basically, they help fund programs people may use later in life. And suddenly I realized, taxes aren't random. There's actually a system behind all of it. I also started paying attention to sales taxes. Every time I bought snacks, clothes, or school supplies, taxes were added to the total. Before learning personal finance, I never even noticed. Now I notice taxes everywhere. And honestly, understanding taxes made me feel more financially aware. Instead of just spending money without thinking, I started understanding where my money was going. That was the moment I stopped feeling like a kid with a paycheck and started feeling financially responsible. A couple weeks later, one of my coworkers asked me, "So, are you getting a tax refund this year?" And I just stared at her, because honestly, I had no idea what a tax refund even was. That's when I learned about tax withholding. Every paycheck, employers automatically take out estimated taxes based on forms employees fill out when they get hired. For me, that form was the W-4. At first, I thought getting a huge refund sounded amazing, like free money. But then I learned something important. A tax refund is usually your money being returned because too much was withheld during the year. That completely changed how I saw refunds. Then I started learning about filing taxes, and suddenly there were all these forms. The W-2 form reports wages from a job. A 1099 form reports other income, like freelance work. And the 1040 form is the main federal tax return people file each year. The name sounded intimidating. But once I saw examples, it became manageable. I realized taxes are really just organized financial reporting. You report how much money you earned, how much tax was already paid, and whether you still owe money or get some refunded. Then I discovered something college students should really pay attention to: tax credits and deductions. At first, I thought they were the same thing, but they're different. Deductions reduce taxable income. Credits reduce the actual amount of taxes owed. And credits can save people a lot of money, especially education-related credits for college students. That's when I realized learning taxes wasn't just about avoiding mistakes. It was also about keeping more of the money I worked hard to earn. And honestly, that motivated me to finally stop ignoring financial stuff. The more I learned about taxes, the more I realized small decisions can make a big financial difference. One topic that really surprised me was deductions. I learned taxpayers can choose between the standard deduction or itemizing deductions, And honestly, at first, I had no clue what that meant. The standard deduction is basically a fixed amount that reduces taxable income automatically. Itemizing means listing specific expenses that may reduce taxable income even more. Things like charitable donations, medical expenses, mortgage interest, and certain state and local taxes. Most college students usually take the standard deduction because it's simpler, but understanding the difference still matters. Then I learned about filing status, and this part shocked me too. Your filing status affects tax rates and possible deductions. There are categories like single, married filing jointly, head of household. As a college student, I filed as single. But seeing the different categories made me realize taxes change depending on life situations. Then I started thinking bigger. I realized taxes are connected to future adult decisions too. Marriage, buying a house, having kids, starting a business. Taxes affect all of it. That honestly made personal finance feel more real to me. Before this class, money felt temporary, like earn it, spend it, repeat. But now I understood financial planning is about making smarter long-term decisions. And honestly, learning taxes gave me confidence, because once you understand how money systems work, you stop feeling lost, you start feeling prepared. One thing I wish someone told me earlier is how important it is to keep financial records organized. Because during tax season, random papers suddenly become very important. At one point, I was digging through my backpack trying to find tax documents I should have saved months earlier. Never again. Now, I keep digital folders for everything: pay stubs, W-2 forms, receipts, scholarship information, and banking documents. That simple habit reduced so much stress. I also learned how important it is to report all income correctly, especially for students doing side hustles. Some students make money tutoring, selling products online, editing videos, or freelancing, and many forget that income may still need to be reported. That's where forms like the 1099 come in. Honestly, I used to think, if taxes aren't automatically taken out, maybe it doesn't matter. But it absolutely matters. Another thing that surprised me was how many mistakes people make on tax returns. Simple mistakes can cause delays or penalties. Things like typing the wrong social security number, missing deadlines, forgetting income sources, or skipping credits they qualify for. That's why I learned it's important to slow down and review everything carefully. I also discovered there are free resources available. The IRS website has forms, instructions, and tools, and many students qualify for free tax filing software. That made taxes feel way more manageable. Because honestly, the scariest part of taxes is usually not understanding them. Once you learn the basics, you realize taxes are less about fear and more about being organized and prepared. After learning the basics of taxes, I started thinking about something bigger. How can people legally reduce the amount of taxes they pay? That's when I learned about tax-advantaged accounts. And honestly, this was one of the most motivating topics for me. Because it showed me taxes aren't just about paying money. They're also about planning smartly. For example, some retirement accounts allow people to contribute money before taxes are taken out. That can lower taxable income. I learned about accounts like 401k, 403b, and traditional IRA. Then there's the Roth IRA, and this one really caught my attention as a college student. With a Roth IRA, contributions are made with money already taxed, but qualified withdrawals later can be tax-free. The idea of starting retirement savings early honestly inspired me. Even small contributions now could grow over time. I also learned about health savings accounts. They have tax benefits for medical expenses. Before this class, I thought taxes only happened once a year. Now I understand taxes connect to long-term financial strategy too. And honestly, that changed my mindset completely. Instead of only thinking about spending money today, I started thinking about protecting my future money too. That felt empowering. Because financial success isn't only about how much you earn, it's also about how wisely you manage what you keep. And learning taxes helped me realize smart financial habits today can create a much stronger future later. By the end of the semester, taxes didn't feel nearly as scary anymore. In fact, I started feeling proud of myself because I went from avoiding financial topics completely to actually understanding how money systems work. And honestly, that confidence carried into other areas of my life too. I became more careful with budgeting, more aware of spending, and more intentional about financial decisions. One of the biggest lessons I learned is that taxes are unavoidable, but overpaying because of confusion or poor planning is avoidable. That's why understanding deductions, credits, and tax rules matters. Not to become a tax expert overnight, but to make smarter decisions. I also realized financial literacy gives people independence. The more you understand money, the less overwhelming adulthood feels. And as college students, this is actually the perfect time to learn these habits, because mistakes are easier to fix early. I'm honestly glad I learned this now, instead of waiting until after graduation. Looking back, taxes used to feel intimidating because I didn't understand the vocabulary. Words like withholding, taxable income, credits, deductions. But once I slowed down and learned them step by step, everything became manageable. And that's something I want you to remember too. You do not have to learn everything at once. Financial knowledge builds over time. One concept, one paycheck, one experience at a time. And every small thing you learn now can help you make better financial decisions for years to come. So honestly, learning about taxes ended up teaching me something bigger than numbers. It taught me responsibility. Before this experience, I thought personal finance was only for older adults with careers and houses. But now I understand financial habits start early, even as college students. Understanding taxes helped me feel more confident, more prepared, and way less intimidated by money. And the best part? You don't need to become an accountant to make smart financial decisions. You just need to start learning step by step. So if taxes still seem confusing right now, that's okay. Everyone starts somewhere. I definitely did. Thank you so much for spending time with me today and listening to my story. I'm Lira, and I'll see you in the next video.